Britain is a major military superpower. It has nuclear weapons, advanced aircraft, a globally recognised navy, elite forces with a formidable reputation, and a permanent place near the centre of the Western Alliance. On paper that sounds impressive, but is this true? If a major conflict began tomorrow, what could Britain actually do? Could it fight at scale? Could it sustain that fight? And could it do it with real independence? Because that is the real question in 2026. Britain is not a powerless country, but neither is it the kind of military power many people still imagine. Welcome back to the war. For many people, Britain is still classed as a major military power. That image comes from several places at once. It comes from history, because Britain spent centuries as one of the most powerful military and naval states on earth. It comes from prestige, because names like the Royal Navy, the RAF, the SES, the Royal Marines and the Paras still carry enormous weight. It comes from diplomacy, because Britain remains deeply embedded in NATO, maintains a nuclear deterrent, and continues to speak and act like a country with global strategic reach. But major war is a brutal filter. It strips away image and asks harder questions. How many forces can you actually field? How quickly can you replace those losses? How long can you sustain high intensity combat? How resilient are your supply lines? How deep are your stockpiles? How much of your apparent strength depends on allies filling the gaps? These are not glamorous questions, but they are important. Do you think Britain is ready for the next war? Let us know in the comments. So what is a major war? That does not mean a short punitive strike. It does not mean a limited expedition. And it does not mean a narrow counter-terrorism campaign where a professional force can achieve a focused mission with relatively limited strain. A major war means something very different. It means sustained operations over time, contested seas, contested skies, and real attrition. It means losing equipment and having to replace it. It means consuming ammunition far faster than peacetime assumptions would like to imagine. It means deploying personnel under constant pressure while also maintaining training, logistics, maintenance, and command structures. It means protecting trade, national interests, while also supporting allies and meeting wider commitments. So has Britain got the depth to answer yes to those statements? Drop your answer in the comments. Britain does enter this discussion with real and serious advantages. First, it remains a technologically advanced military state that has highly trained personnel, advanced systems, and a long institutional memory of coalition warfare, maritime operations, intelligence work, and global deployment. Second, Britain retains a nuclear deterrent, which means any adversary can't just treat them casually. Third, Britain still has elite units of genuine quality, like the SES, Royal Marines, and Paras to name a few, that are professional, highly skilled and dangerous. Fourth, Britain remains valuable in sea and in the air, and deliver high quality effects if used intelligently. And fifth, Britain is not isolated. Its real military power is inseparable from its place inside NATO. And here is the problem. Those advantages tell us that Britain can matter in war. They do not automatically tell us that Britain could independently sustain a major war of the kind that shaped the 20th century. If you've ever wondered about your grandparents' or great-grandparents' military careers, I am offering limited spaces on our military legacy programme. Comment legacy below and I'll send you the details. The army has serious strengths. British soldiers are generally well trained, disciplined and experienced in warfare. Britain has long valued quality over mass, and in smaller operations that can produce an efficient, credible force. But major war punishes small numbers. That is the problem. A compact, professional army may look perfectly adequate in peacetime. It may even perform impressively in limited deployments. But in large-scale conflicts, size matters again very quickly. Not because quality stops mattering, but because quality alone cannot hold ground indefinitely. Major war is not only about fighting well, it's about enduring damage. It's about replacing people, equipment and momentum. That does not mean the British Army is ineffective. It means the margin for error is smaller than reputation suggests. A smaller army can still fight, but how long can it sustain a major fight before pressure builds faster than replacement? No branch is more tied to Britain's historic image of power than the Navy. For centuries, sea power was central to British survival, trade, empire and warfare. The Royal Navy was not simply a military service, it was one of the foundations of British state power. And to be clear, the modern Royal Navy is not meaningless, but modern naval strength is about more than just having impressive assets. It's about availability, crews, logistics and global commitments without overstretching itself. And this is where the anxiety around Britain's naval position has grown. A smaller fleet can still look capable in snapshots, it can still project status, and it can still perform important missions, but a smaller fleet also has less redundancy, less margin, less capacity to absorb breakdowns. In peacetime, that may be manageable. In major war, it becomes a strategic weakness, because sea power cannot be improvised. A navy is not something you rebuild overnight once danger becomes obvious. It requires years of investment. So could the Royal Navy contribute meaningfully in a major war? Absolutely. Could it carry the sort of maritime burden Britain once expected of itself? That is far less certain. The RAF is a similar story. Britain still retains advanced air power. That matters. Modern air capability is not easy to build, and the RAF remains an important component of British and Allied strength. In the early stages of a conflict, quality aircraft, trained crews, intelligence support and alliance integration could make Britain a serious contributor. But air warfare in a major conflict is not just about sophistication. It's about tempo, sorties, maintenance, attrition, air defence, munitions expenditure, pilot training pipelines, infrastructure resilience. A force can be very advanced and still be under strain if it lacks enough depth behind the front line. The air war consumes resources quickly. Even the most capable aircraft are only as useful as the systems supporting them. So yes, Britain can still generate high quality air power. Britain's problems aren't because it has no military capability. The real problem is depth. Depth in manpower, stockpiles, industry, capacity and endurance. This matters because major wars are won not simply by the forces that strike first, but by the societies that can keep fighting after the first blows land. Which leads to the next question. Could Britain fight alone? In a limited sense, yes. Britain can defend itself in important ways, project force selectively, protect certain interests and impose real costs on an adversary. It remains a serious state with meaningful military tools. But if by fighting alone we mean sustaining a large, prolonged, high-intensity war independently, then the answer becomes much more doubtful, and that should not be shocking. Modern Britain is not the Britain of imperial scale, global industrial supremacy, or wartime mass mobilisation. It's a medium-sized power with advanced capabilities, major prestige, and important strategic value, but also with real constraints. So could Britain actually fight a major war in 2026? Yes, but not in the way many people imagine. Britain could contribute real military power. It could fight effectively in certain domains. It could remain dangerous, especially within an alliance. But could it sustain a major war at scale for a prolonged period with real independence and deep reserves of manpower, industry and military resilience. That is where confidence begins to fade. Britain is not weak in any simple sense, but it may be weaker than its reputation suggests. Now go check out our other videos on the British military. Hi soldiers, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments and check out our merchant membership programs. And don't forget to comment legacy for your family's military history. And don't forget to check back in again soon. That's an order.